Welcome to the Sunrise Project podcast. We are part of Grants Past Remembrance, a truth and reconciliation project on our community's history as a sundown town. And this podcast is an opportunity to hear stories from our neighbors and have conversations on race and get to be in process with each other. And so on that note, we were talking right before this on process. And you use the term co-learning, Emily, that I really like. I think that's what process is, actually.
It really is. Mm-hmm. It's that recognition and that realization that we are co-learners and that none of us have ever arrived at a place of knowing all that we need to know or understanding all that we need to understand, but that we continue to learn together alongside each other. I love that.
Well, my friends, we are here today with Emily and Mike Green, and they are the founders of Common Ground Conversations on Race. And thank you so much for being here.
We're so glad to be here.
We are.
Just such an honor to have you here. Well, the next question is one that we ask everybody. And so we'll start with you, Emily, and Mike, we'll go to you next. But why does race matter to you?
It's such a great question. I have a couple thoughts that come to mind. And the first one is I consider, why does race matter? I think about the construct of race that was created. I think about the fact that this construct of race was created based on skin tone and skin color in our nation. And this hierarchy of value of humans came out of that. And so I think as a human being who values human beings and who recognizes this construct as being something that's made up, that doesn't actually reflect the truth of human value. And my heart is to honor human value. And so it matters to me because humans matter and all humans matter. And so the construct that has been created, that's sort of been maintained and sustained throughout our nation and continues to exist, I'm glad to see it, right? And as I see it, know that it doesn't align with my belief in human value. So that's the first part. And then the second part is I find myself in an interracial relationship and raising biracial kids. And so as I've come to understand the concept of race, it's been essential to have a really deep understanding for me as a human, as a mama, as a wife, as a person in society raising children and caring about my children and all children, and wanting to step into creating something better. And I think I do want to say about race, and this is something that we're pretty passionate about in our work, is it can feel so daunting, as a word or as a concept, especially for people that are in white bodies. Like it can be something that you want to avoid or you're not sure how to talk about. And what continues to happen, and what I continue to learn as a co-learner, is that the more we just identify a name and sort of deal with like facts and truthful information, it sort of demystifies the fear or the intimidation of talking about something that may feel a little, you're not sure how to discuss. And so what we do is we just discuss it and we sort of identify and know what it is. And as we do, then we can create something different. So,
yeah. How about you, Mike?
Well, I just want to build upon what Emily said because she's very eloquent and insightful, and she touched on a couple of points. This idea of racial hierarchy, which is the valuing and devaluing of humans by race. And living in a white society, a vast majority of white Americans tend to avoid this issue. So why is it important to me? Well, it's important to me because it was forced upon me from the very beginning when the Europeans arrived on this continent. The second most important issue was race. The first was the pursuit of wealth. And so race and economics have always been intertwined from the very beginning of the nation when they established a whites-only citizenry. And the labor was the importation of African people all kinds of people, doctors, lawyers, moms, children, and they just identified them as slaves. And so the issue of race was created by white people. It was the second most important issue by white people. It's been ingrained in all the laws, the systems, the public policies, and private sector practices from the very beginning of this nation all the way to today, passed down through 26 generations. And so when I am engaged in the discussion of race, it seems ironic to me that the vast majority of white people in this country either do not know their own history as the architects of race, the architects of racial hierarchy, the architects of this construct in our society. It is ironic that they are the ones who most want to avoid it when they are the ones who created it and forced it upon the rest of us. So it is important to me because I want to engage in discussions about race with the architects of race and to educate them and have them educate me. And for us together to recognize we inherited a society that none of us created. But guess what? We can all play a role in the society that we pass on to future generations. And so if we don't like the way that this concept of racial hierarchy and white supremacy exists in our society today, we get a chance to change that. And so that's why it's important to me.
Yeah. I'm caught by a phrase that you just used that I'm not used to. You shared wanting to educate them and wanting them to educate you. There's a humility and grace there that I'm wondering if you could talk a little bit more about, because that sounds hard.
Well, yes. I grew up in a white society.
Yeah.
And so my education has been more of an indoctrination.
Yes.
And as I find out more about the history of this country and my ancestors' role in the history of the country and the building of this country and the erasure of the value that we provided in this country, as I find out more, I want to share that with others. And then I want them to provide feedback to me. What do they think about these issues that, oh, by the way, they weren't taught either?
Yes.
And so we're all learning, as Emily said before, it's a co-learning process. And so I have to be open to understanding and hearing and listening and curious about what do you think about this information that both of us are now discovering together?
Yes. Oh, that's a good way to, thank you for fleshing that out. Yeah. I'm interested in diving into hearing about what Common Ground Conversations is. Now, I want to mention that your website is phenomenal.
Thank you,
It
Gabi.
is commongroundconversations.com.
Thank you.
So please go there.